Hi everybody, I hope you're well and dandy out there in the YouTube world and the Beatles world and the VC and record collectors. Today we're going to be doing part 2 of my David Bowie collection, which is here. So we've done part 1, which was sort of like the early years, so we're going to start off with this one in 1970. Now I have got to just say I have not got a complete David Bowie discography. Some of the records I show you are reissues, some are originals, but I haven't got every single album that David Bowie released. I've got most of them, but not every single one. I just make that clear. I think I did mention that in the original video. And thank you to everybody that watched that first video, because it did get a lot of response. It got a lot of views and everything. So thank you to everybody that took the time out to watch it. So we're going to start in 1970. So in 1970, David Bowie was on Mercury Records in both the UK and the USA, and he released this album, The Man Who Sold the World. This is the original picture cover for the original UK album, although this is a reissue of that album, if that makes sense. There was this cover in the UK, and then in 1972, when he signed to RCA, they re-released this album with a black and white cover with a Ziggy Stardust type of character on the cover, which was very, very easy to come by for many, many years. But I've just been on eBay, and they're quite expensive now. So yeah, so this is a reissue. So this is on Parlophone instead of Mercury. This actual record was released on the 4th of November 1970. I'm just reading a few notes, if you don't mind. But it was actually recorded between the 17th of April and the 22nd of May 1970 at Trident Studios and Edvison in London. And it's got a total length of 40 minutes and 29 seconds. So it is actually quite a long album, and it was actually produced by Tony Visconti. So after the sort of like folky sort of like album that Space Oddity or the 1969 David Bowie album was, which in America was released as David Bowie Man of Words and Music, I think. This is more like a heavy rock album. It does feature Mick Ronson for the first time and Woody Woodmansey on drums, and Tony Visconti still played the bass. So it is virtually like the first album of the Spiders from Mars, although Trevor Boulder wasn't on it. It didn't have a very good chart success, to be honest. I'll just go down here. Just trying to give you a bit more sort of like in-depth release of it, or review. Right, in the UK this didn't get anywhere when it was released in 1970. In America, I think it did get to something like the lower reach of the charts. But then when it was released in 1972, this actually got to number 24 in the UK charts and 105 in the US Billboard chart. So the original album in America charged higher than the reissue. That's the black and white cover. So on this you've got some fantastic songs on this. You've got The Width of a Circle, All the Madmen, Black Country Rock, and After All. Then you've got on side 2, you've got Running Gun Blues, Saviour Machine, She Shook Me Cold, The Man Who Sold the World, and The Supermen. I've always liked this album. I can't find my black and white cover version of it. I don't know where it's gone. And I had 2 of them. So I don't know if I've lent them to people over the mist of time and they've disappeared or not. So like I say, this is actually a reissue from, I think it's 2000, isn't it? It doesn't actually say on it. I'd say it's from the early 2000s. So you've got David Bowie on guitar and vocals, Tony Visconti electric bass, piano and guitar, Mick Ronson guitar, Mick Woodmansey drums, and Ralph Mace on Moog synthesizer. So that is what the original UK cover would have looked like. I don't know if it was a gatefold or not, to be honest. And this is David in his dress, although you say but it's a man's dress. And then he's got playing cards all the way around him as well. So that is what it looked like in the UK. And this label is very, very similar to the original UK label. So like I say, it would have been on Mercury. So where it says Bowie there, it would have said Mercury, but it would have been on a black label like this. That's side one. Then that's side two. Very, very heavyweight record. Fantastic album. And for saying it was recorded in a matter of weeks, wasn't it, to be honest? What was it recorded from? From between 17th of April and 22nd of May. So it was like only just over 4 weeks, wasn't it, a month? Fantastic album. Like I say, you know, it is more of like, you class this as David Bowie's heavy rock album. Very, very different to the 1969 album. Original UK copies of this are very, very, very hard to get. In fact, in all my years of collecting records, I've only ever seen one that was on the Mercury label, and that's like in over 40 years. So they are extremely rare, and if you ever did see one, you'd be paying probably thousands of pounds for it. So my favourite tracks on this are, which you might not agree with, I love All the Madmen, and I love Black Country Rock. After All is a good song. Running Gun Blues is a brilliant song. Saving Machine is a fantastic song. She Shook Me Cold is an okay song. The Man Who Sold the World should have been released as a single, I think, off this. And The Supermen is a brilliant song. Yeah, this is from late 1990s, early 2000s version. Still a fantastic version, and that is the closest I will probably ever get to having the original cover. Brilliant sounding record. The production by Tony Visconti is brilliant. Mick Ronson's guitar work is also absolutely fantastic on this album. Now in America you got it with a slightly different cover, which is this one. Although the cover is basically the same, the actual name of it is different. This is the 50th anniversary. So although in America it was released under the title of The Man Who Sold the World, this is Metropolis. But this is the cover that you would have originally had in America. Oh, by Jingo, it says on there. Oh, by Jingo. Which was from After All, wasn't it, I think. So you get exactly the same track list in exactly the same order. This one has been slightly remixed by Tony Visconti for the 50th anniversary. This is still in its shrink wrap, by the way. I think this is a gatefold. Shall we open it? I mean, I've opened it so I can get the record out, but I think we might do it and open it up. Shall we? Again, the label is virtually identical to what it would have been in 1970, but where it says Bowie there, it would have said Mercury. Again, lovely sounding record. You can tell that this has actually been slightly remixed. I mean, that's weird, isn't it? Because on side one there, just notice that. Bowie, 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 and that's blank. But yet on side two, it's not. Isn't that strange? Great sounding record, actually. very much regarded as a flop when this first came out. I'm going to be... Shall I... Yeah. Shall we? Yeah. I will do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll keep that for the hype sticker. So I've just basically took the shrink wrap off this. Nice back cover though. I think the back cover on this is actually slightly better than the UK version. But then you do get all like different sort of like alternative photos from the photo shoot. You see all that? And I've just been looking on eBay, and there was the original, well, it said it was the original version of this on Mercury, the American version, for £55. Now to me that sounds a little bit cheap. I might get it though. I might get it. I don't know. What do you think? Should I get it? 9 songs by David Bowie. And you do get the words to all the songs on this, don't you? If you look at the back of this. Hold it there, then if you want to freeze it and zoom in, you could do. After All is a good song. I really do like After All. In fact, I don't really think there's a bad song on this album. When this was originally released in 1970 in the US, because I don't think it was released till January or February of 71 in the UK, it got higher in the American charts than what it did in the British charts. I think because a lot of people had like gone out and bought Space Oddity or the David Bowie 1969 album, they was expecting something similar, but even then he was moving on with things, wasn't he? Yeah, fantastic album. Even this one, even though this is like a reissue, it is worth getting because it is slightly remixed. So there's that one. I'm just fed a bit sort of like fed up because I can't find the one that I wanted to show you, which was the reissue from 1972. Now we'll go on to the next album that was released, which is the Fantastic Hunky Dory. Now I've got to admit, this is one of my favourite David Bowie albums of all time. It's going to be controversial what I say now, but I think song for song this is actually stronger than the Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. Although, in some ways, this is not quite as heavy as the album that preceded it, i.e. The Man Who Sold the World. If you don't know the songs on it, I'll just go through them very quickly. You've got Changes, Oh You Pretty Things, 8-Line Poem, Life on Mars, Mars, Kooks, Quicksand, Side 2 is Fill Your Heart, Andy Warhol, Song for Bob Dylan, Queen Bitch, and the Bowley Brothers. And it was produced by Ken Scott, assisted by the actor, remixed by Ken Scott at Trident Studios, London. And this was the first album that David Bowie actually released on RCA in both the UK and America. The musicians on my album are Michael Ronson, who played guitar and did the arrangements, Mark Thus, Woody Woodman playing on drums, Trevor Bowler bass and trumpets, Rich Wakeman's on piano on this. And then it says, I played some guitar, the saxophone and the less complicated piano parts. Mick and I agree that the Fill Your Heart arrangement owes one hell of a lot to Arthur G. Wright and his prototype. And this is a gem production, it says on here. There. If you can just see that, can you? There's like a little sticker thing on there. And originals in the UK did come with a lyric sheet, which are actually worth quite a bit of money on their own. They came in a ordinary paper inner sleeve, but the label, this is actually a really, really nice copy. Side one. Side two. That isn't actually quite, that is really, really nice condition, that is, to be honest. Didn't actually realise how nice condition that was. I'd only play on that. But I must admit I have got more than one copy of this. So that is an original UK copy. Then we've got another original UK copy. Again, a gem production. I don't think this has got the inner sleeve. Yeah, it has. That's still got the inner sleeve with it. Well, the lyric sheet. And again, this one is in really, really nice condition as well. I forgot how nice these are. Changes was actually released as a single off this album, or just before this album came out, and it did chart, but only like in the lower reaches of the chart. And you think right now that is one of his most well-known songs, isn't it? Which is a bit strange. I always think the cover on this is very nice as well. Front cover. So that is another UK original. Then we've got this one, which is another UK original. This one hasn't got the Legend to the UK original. This is one of those Dynaflex ones. Yeah, you can tell the vinyl on this is nowhere near as thick as the ones on the other two. Still nice to have though. And to be honest, I think that's one I play the most, which is probably why them other two are in such nice condition. But unfortunately that hasn't got the lyric sheet with it. Then we've got the reissue from a few years ago on 180 gram vinyl, and this time it is on Parlophone, and this is very, very, very heavy. Well, it would be, wouldn't it? It's 180 gram. See how they put the Bowie there instead of RCA? Two. No, I've just noticed. Oh no, it don't. Thought it said side one on both sides. Lovely sounding album. I actually think my daughter got me this copy for either a Christmas present or a birthday present. You do get another inner sleeve with it and the lyric sheet, but this is a hell of a lot darker. So there's that copy, which is probably, that's probably the easiest way to get this album nowadays. You can still go into certain record shops that sell brand new records, and you will be able to get this at a decentish price. When I say decentish, should be under 30 quid. And then the other day this came, which is, looking at it, slightly different, because it's got an extra song on it. And it's probably one of the most interesting out of the lot, because it's David Bowie, A Divine Symmetry, or Symmetry. And it is like alternative mixes and outtakes from that album. So it still says it was produced by Ken Scott, assisted by the actor. And just still say everything about the musicians. It's on Parlophone, so it is a legitimate album. It's not like a bootleg or out. There, look, Parlophone. DBADS 1971 is the catalogue number. I have just played this, which is the first time I've actually had to play it, and it does sound really, really nice. You get like this fold out thing. So you do still get the words to the songs. This is hard to do. I've just sat down. You do still get the words to the songs. Folds out like that. Yeah, because there's a song on here called Bombers, which then goes into Andy Warhol. So it says on here, it says Bow promo and original mixes. So Oh You Pretty Things, 8-line poem, Kooks, Andy Warhol and Queen Bitch promos or alternative versions. Then you've got Changes, Life on Mars, Quicksand, Fill Your Heart, Bombers, Song for Bob Dylan and the Bowery Brothers. They are 2021 remixes which were done by Ken Scott in October/November of 2021. Nice though, isn't it? That is nice. So you got that. That is the cover. That is the back. The back's very similar. It's just you've got the additional track Bombers, which is just there. Came in a nice black poly-lined inner sleeve. So that is side one. And then that's side two. Fantastic album. Should you get this one? If you're a David Bowie fanatic like me, yes, because it is nice to listen to the alternative mixes and the remixes. And you can tell that they've been like remixed, and you can tell which like the demos. They're not actually that much different to the release versions. Like it's chucking it down the vein, but they are different, if that makes sense. Like I've said before, this is one of my, if not my favourite David Bowie album of all time. And song for song, I think the original album was probably better than The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. Now, if the songs on here, if you think about it, Queen Bitch would have actually fitted onto The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. And this is the first album that actually does feature all of the Spiders from Mars. Fantastic album. Very, very, very well produced. David's songwriting has improved by the time this came out. The musicianship of the Spiders, shall we say, is fantastic. It's probably the sort of album he'd been trying to make since 1969, I'd say. But again, when it was originally released, this was quite a flop in some ways. I think it did actually get to, we'll have a look if it says. Just bear with me 1 second. Right, in the UK, when this was released in 1972, it says here. So it must have like, yeah, because I think that they did sort of like re-release it, didn't they? After Ziggy Stardust, so it did actually get to number 3 in the UK charts. In Australia, it got to number 39 in 1972. Then in 2016, did they re-release this in 2016 then? In the US Billboard Top 200, it got to 57. And in the US Top Catalogue Album Billboard, it got to number 4. In Canada, it got to 43. In Sweden, it got to number 16. So, you know, it has been re-released a few times by the sounds of it, but I always thought that this did chart in 1971, but I must have been wrong. Oh, and in 2016 end of year chart, Performance of Hunky Dory in the UK, it got to number 83. Hunky Dory did. So the highest it ever got was number 3 in the UK charts, which I think, I could be wrong, but I think that's might be higher than what the album that followed it came to. Anyway, I hope you've all enjoyed it. I've tried to keep it under half an hour. I'm just about there. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you to everybody that is supporting my channel, leaving me likes, leaving me comments and subscribing. Don't forget, if you're not subscribed, please think about subscribing because it is free. It doesn't cost you a penny. You are the Beatle Dave. The last video got a hell of a lot of views and lots of comments and lots of likes, so I'm hoping that this one will do the same. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, it's just one of those things. I'm trying something a little bit different, but I honestly do hope that you do enjoy it. I will be doing this sort of thing on the next couple, like telling you roughly where they got to in the charts and everything. But until then, whatever you're doing, stay safe. Remember, Beatle Dave loves you, and I do mean that. I love you all. And thank you to everybody that's subscribing, leaving me comments, leaving me likes and things like that. You know, it does mean a lot. I'm still sort of like buzzing that we got to over 1,000 subscribers, but that is another story. So whatever you're doing, please stay safe, and just remember, peace and love, love and peace, peace and love, love and peace. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. Stay safe, everybody. Ta-da for now, my ducks.